You might be saying, what is a zero enhancement cost campaign? Well, pretty much when it comes to these services that you see down here, item grinding, add special ability, special augment ability transfer, S-class ability augment transfer, unlocking potential of old type weapons, potential swap, and candy compression, it will be at a 0 meseta cost. That means it's free, but there's a catch. You still need to use certain resources, like if I was grinding out a weapon, I would still need to use lab to grinders or grinders. If I was doing special ability transfer, I still had to use my ability transfer passes. So this video will break it down for you guys, explain what you would want to do. All of this is optional. However, if you want to get the most out of this event, you might want to do the things that I talk about in this video. If you want to look at a particular point, look in the description for the time skip. If you're new to augmenting and affixing, then I advise you to watch the playlist above my head. It is an Affixing 101, covers the basics when it comes to affixing, augmenting, which then you can use later on for more advanced things like S-class ability transfer, how to manipulate it, and also understanding certain functions and features. There's going to be 3 video links you'll see above my head or in the description. I would advise you guys, especially if you haven't seen those videos, to watch them to get an understanding to why I will mention some of these finer points. You'll hear me talk about this special ability transfer one. It is not a mandatory video, but if you really want to understand why I stress this one out, there will be a future video as well talking about it again. You might want to watch that video. The other 2 will be in the add ability, especially when it comes to natural success rates and how you can increase that, and then S-class ability transfer and how you can manipulate it. Take advantage of that grind 0 cost, because if you have a lot of weapons or certain units that needs that grind, that enhancement upgrade, you will want to do it when there's no need to pay a bunch of meseta. Now, when it comes to some weapons, it would take roughly around 1 to 2 million to get it to plus 35. But if you want to save as much as you can, then guess what? This event will allow you to save that meseta. Obviously, it's not on right now, but if it was on, that 530,000 is not going to be a thing. It's going to be at 0. It will consume the items you select. It's going to consume whatever you decide to use. It's going to consume those lab to grinders and grinders. But the thing is, in terms of meseta, it's going to be free. So if you have a lot of things you would want to upgrade, try to upgrade them during this 0 and enhancement cost, so you don't need to spend as much and you could put it towards something else like fashion. For point number 2, hopefully you saw that video, you know a bit about augments and affixes, but to keep it simple, the big reason why you would want to do it in this sort of boost, in enhancement 0, grind cost 0, is due to the fact that if you work with something at a high rarity and you select up to 5 fodder pieces, that price is going to go to a high number. So if I selected a certain high rarity weapon and I use 5 certain fodder pieces, it will go up to 1 million. The same can be said with units. If I select this 5 slot over here and then work with all these pieces, that is a 13-star unit, you can see that is also at 1 million. With the grind enhancement 0 cost, guess what? That is going to be at 0. It will still eat up these resources when you try to finalize it and produce it, but this is going to be at a whopping 0. And then let me do my last demonstration. Go over here and then let's select a good chunk of these sub cards. Let's say this one, this one, this one, and this one. And then I do something like this. Note that there is no boost week going on and there is no grind 0 costs going on right now. But yeah, that's at 243,200 and that's at a 92%. This is where we go into point number 3, special ability transfer. This is where I'm going to insert my opinion. You don't have to watch the video that's above my head or in the description upper right hand corner, but if you want to understand why I'm stressing this out, then you might want to watch it. There will be a future video that goes further into what I'm explaining and emphasizing on when it comes to you abusing the special ability transfer and how you can use that to manipulate certain functions that would be hard to do normally, but it would be easier if you use the special ability transfer. You can use this during an enhancement cost. It will cost 0 meseta. The backlash to this, the flip side, is the fact that you are using ability transfer passes. You want to use those wisely because, especially if you're playing on global, you didn't have a good chunk of months to stock up on a lot of these. There are titles, there are other ways to get them, but in terms of you doing this in an enhancement cost, you could ignore this. And I would say ignore it if you're not ready. If you are ready and you would want to do it and save a bit of Meseta, it's going to go rough around 1 to 2 mil. It's not going to exceed past that. But if you want to save a bit of Meseta regardless, then you can. But do it when you are ready. Hopefully you aren't using it as much for little small miscellaneous things. And I'm going to explain that in those videos. I already explained it in that video, but I'll have a future video talking about it. But do you have to toy around with special ability transfer with an enhancement cost going on, enhancement 0 cost? No. You can if you want, especially if you are ready. But I would say with this particular function, you do it whenever you are ready. If there's a fee for it, then pay that fee. Because you're not doing this constantly, unlike item grinding, so you can get plus 35s on certain weapons that have a certain SAF. You're not doing a lot of augments and affixes back to back to back. So this one you want to exclude, but this is my opinion. If you want to do otherwise, then that is on you. But I would say don't use this unless you are ready, unless you know what you are doing. The fourth thing, S-Class ability transfer, S-Class special augment transfer, also known as SSA transfer. The reason why I want to toy around with this is if you have a lot of weapons or units that have SSAs. If you do have a lot of these, then you can try to compact them. You might want to find a certain weapon that can hold certain SSAs, or a lot of SSAs. For example, dim weapon series tend to hold S1, S2, S3. If I select this dim weapon, and let's say I want to try to move these SSAs off of this 15 star and also move the S1 SSA off of this 13 star, what I can then do is do this process over here, select all the things that I would want, hit next, hit yes, and then obviously just to get a decrease from an 8 slot to a 6 slot, you do need to be aware of that. And then I hit yes. You can see that it will cost me 480,000 Meseta to do this. This function does not eat up any other material. So during enhancement cost, guess what? This is 0 Meseta. You can do this as many times as you want. You can manipulate these pieces as many times as you want. Just be aware, the moment you decide to down slot something, it is stuck at that slot. So if I move these abilities to this dim weapon, it's going to be at an 8 slot still. If I accept this process, that 15 star is now a 6 slot. And if I move them back, guess what? It's not going to obtain its 2 slots that it lost. So be aware of that. But let's say I decide to go with it and I have the S2 and S3 ability now on this dim weapon. What I then want to do with that dim weapon is I want to select it again, hit the Val one, select the S2, S3 ability that I already have on here. Obviously you don't see it because I didn't really physically do it. But let's imagine that I do have that S2, S3 ability. I want to select that S1 ability and then select all the other abilities. I want to go through with it. Obviously I'm going to decrease that 5 slot to a 4 slot now. And then I hit accept and it's going to be at a 0 grind cost, so I'm not paying as much. The entire point of this is that if you have a lot of SSAs on weapons and units and you want to do a bit of cleaning, you want to get rid of some of these 13 star, 14 star, 15 star rarities, or at least these 13 star units, you can manipulate these S-Class abilities that you would want to keep still onto something else that you know you're not going to toss away yet, and just get rid of the particular junk that is in your storage or in your inventory. Now for this point, I'm going to be talking about both old type potential and the new type ones, or just changing a potential. You can see down here there is an option to change a potential. I'm going to click on that, and when I click on this light stream, it has an ability to get the plus potential. Now you can see the price is 360,000 Meseta. Alright, with an enhancement cost that is 0. Great. Problem is, you need to pay your Lumamech fragments. This is not at 0. This is at whatever number it is, and it is 240 Lumamech fragments. So this is good and bad. You don't need to pay Meseta, but you need to pay the other resource. That means you gotta farm. Now, for O types, once again, Global doesn't have to worry about it as much, but if you want to change it or unlock it, you're gonna have to select these certain key things. When it comes to grind O type attributes, that's in reference to element attributes and increasing them in the very bad way, aka feeding dupes and all that shabazz. Yeah, that's a thing with attributes and stuff, but you had to use this option to do that. But other than that, if you want to change the potential as well, you still had to go through that process. So let's say I bring up my Missouri weapon from way back then in episode, what, 2, 3? If I want to change its potential, I can. And you can see that it does cost a bit of a set of photon spheres. I am not going to be paying as much if it's at an enhancement cost 0. It's going to be 0, but I still need to pay the photon spheres. And as you can see, this one requires weaponoid boosters. And I have 2 of these. And I need to pay 9 of these so I can get it to work. The Meseta costs, I don't need to worry about it. But yes, that's how you go about the enhancement costs with Monica and Duty, and with these various functions you can try to abuse and make it as cheap as possible. You might be saying, more if you've got one thing, how about candy compression? You're right. So I don't know why, but these two are like together, and I feel like they're like an evil group, evil pairing, even with Monica instead of Doo-Doo. But the thing is, candy compression is done through here, through the pit lab assistant with Arya. Now, I'm not going to actually do said function, but pretty much if you are playing on Summoner, or maybe you have a Summoner, or maybe you have a couple pets and you have a couple candies, regardless, you want to compress it. Pretty much when it comes to Summoner, they will emphasize heavily on candy compression and the pets. When it comes to gear, that kind of plays a small value to it, but it's mainly your pets and your candies. And here's the thing, candies have certain perks, and you can shove a lot of candies into a pet box. Now, I'm not going to do a video breaking down how to go about playing Summoner. I'm not good with Summoner, you need to ask someone else. All I know is the basics, and I would say, once again, candies are important. You can think of candies like weapons for us. For the pets, it's going to be their candy, and you want to grind and compress these, aka do this option over here. So, do it during the 0 enhancement cost, 0 grind cost, because it's going to save you a lot of Meseta, especially if you have so many things you need to compress. I have an old video where I took my own Summoner that had a bunch of candies, and on a 0 grind cost, or at least the last 30 minutes of it, I physically and mentally compressed all my candies. It was torture. But I did it just so I don't need to deal with it ever again. But that is up to you. Almost all of these are optional. But if you really want to make the most out of it, you would want to capitalize on these things and make sure to spend as little as possible so you can save a lot of it and dump it towards something else. If you have any question, comment, concerns, put it down below. That is it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.